Let's take a look at a function that has both horizontal and vertical asymptotes and determine where they are. Now recall, an asymptote is a line that the graph approaches but never touches and never crosses. So how do we find out where these are? First off, there are two types of asymptotes, vertical and horizontal. We're going to start with the vertical asymptotes, or those that go up and down. To find the equation of these, we take the denominator of our function and set it equal to 0. I am then going to solve for x by adding 1 to each side, dividing by 3, resulting in x squared equals 1/3. Now, in order to undo the squared, I have to take the square root. And it's important you remember that the square root actually has two solutions, the positive and the negative, because both squared will result in 1/3. Recall, a negative times a negative is a positive, which is why we have that negative value. A negative value squared will become positive. Now, the root of 1/3 is not a perfect square. It will result in a decimal. If you'd like to, you may find the decimal approximation, but I'm just going to leave these in radical form. Next, we'll look at the horizontal asymptotes. In order to find the horizontal asymptotes, we need to take a look at the fraction as a whole and look at the index of the fraction. The top index, or highest root value, is 2, and the bottom highest root value is 2. Now, I'll draw your attention to page 417 of your text. It lays out the rules for horizontal asymptotes very nicely in terms of if the numerator index is less than the denominator index, if they're equal, and if they're greater. In this case, the indexes are equal, which means we need to divide the highest root values, or the coefficients, in front of the highest exponents. In this case, we need to divide the coefficients 9 and 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. That results in a horizontal asymptote of y equals 3. That means the graph will approach the line y equals 3, but never cross it. Let's take a brief look at what this looks like on a graph. If you look at our graph, you notice that we have the red is the graph of the actual function. The blue and the green are our vertical asymptotes, and the line y equals 3 would be right here. It approaches it, but it never crosses, and it never touches y equals 3. Those are boundaries for this graph. They never touch, and they never cross those 3 particular lines. Now, please be aware that not all graphs have horizontal and vertical asymptotes, so you want to be sure to check that they exist before trying to find the equation of them.